Hey everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I'm super excited to be here today with some of the cast and crew of the new film, Kids vs. Aliens. So I am here today with director Jason Eisener, stars Phoebe Rex, Calem MacDonald, and Jonni Shreve, and composer Andrew Gordon MacPherson. Thank you all for joining me to talk about your awesome new movie.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. So, Jason, I just want to start off with you and just hear a little bit more about where this idea for Kids versus Aliens came from.
Well, originally it was inspired by this short film that I made like 10 years ago for this anthology film called VHS 2.
Yeah.
And that short was called Slumber Party Alien Abduction. And the idea was to kind of make a feature film that was in the spirit of that short film. And like the spirit of that film is like a lot of it is based on like my childhood and my growing up with the co-writer John Davies. We've known each other since we were 5 years old, and a lot of the shenanigans in Kids versus Aliens is based off of the stuff that like me and him used to do to my sister.
No way. Oh, your poor sister slash the best sister.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was like, there's a scene in the film where it's pretty much we just did it shot for shot, a recreation of what we used to do to her. But we used to like at like 3 a.m, when she would be like sleeping, we would just like bust open the door with like a stereo just blasting like super loud techno music, and we would have like extension cords to like all these Christmas and Halloween like blow molds, and we would just like have like a dance party like in her room. And it all stopped when one time we did it, and she just reached into the stereo and she pulled the CD disc out in one hand, and she just went and she just crushed it in front of me. And we were like, okay, we won't do this again.
So wait, then Phoebe, what was that like playing a version of Jason's sister? Did you know this when you were in the playing the role?
Well, I had an idea. Obviously, an absolute badass for that. But yeah, I had a lot of, I guess, similar experiences. I have a brother, and I can certainly relate to the absolute just ridiculousness that happens when you want to get on your siblings' nerves. So I think that this film definitely encapsulates that. It was really, really entertaining and fun to get to bring that to life.
Yeah. And what was it like interacting with the whole cast? I mean, it's such a young cast. There's some incredible performances from your younger brother and the siblings. So what was that like for you? And also you, Calem, for working with all of these like younger kids on set.
Yeah,
started with Phoebe.
It was so much energy every single day. Consistently, like every time we're on set, there is something happening. There's songs being created, there's like business ideas being pitched, and so many your mom jokes you wouldn't even believe. I couldn't even begin to like describe the energy brought to set. So much fun. And even like it was so good because on those days when you're really tired or it's really early, you can count on those boys to get you up there and to bring you onto their level. Like, just I'm so grateful for them.
That's amazing. And Calem, what was your experience like working with them?
Yeah, Phoebe's just saying that just reminded me of like many different days on set, because it's hard to think back. We did this like almost a year and a month or two ago. It's hard to remember, these 25 days that we shot this movie. And when Phoebe just said like, the little shenanigans that went on with the kids behind the scenes, it brought back a lot of memories of like, just when you have 3, young boys, I've been there. And you get them together every single day for a whole month. Things, can go a little awry behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, they were always like, as soon as Jason called action, they were like there. They always knew their lines. They were always listening. They were always doing like, they were pros. It was great to watch them even grow from like day one to the end of the show. It was really was really cool, because I know myself at my age, if I was acting at that age, I don't think I'd be as, as in tune. They were really, really good. But it was great. Like you said, they kept energy up, because sometimes, film sets can get long days, and sometimes you can get a little boring, and, with that young energy on set all the time, it was really helpful.
That's awesome. Well, and then, okay, so Jonni, I wanted to hear from you, because you play the Beast Alien and you're under a lot of makeup. You're a really chaotic energy. And I wanted to hear about your experience in the film under all those prosthetics and just kind of going beast mode in the film.
It was a lot of fun. I don't want to give anything away, but I spent most of the time running after kids and stuff, which is fun. And especially with Calem, was fun with him, just because how it goes with us. But it was like every time I was there, it was if it was a long day and I was just like in makeup, I'd go on set and like just carry on like I'm normal, like I have no makeup on, and just like kind of watch everything. So I love just watching everyone interact and stuff. I was being behind the scenes. Then it was my time to go. I was like, all right, let's go. And then Jason would be like, I want this, and I'm like, okay, I got the idea. And then I would kind of like put it together and try and create as much as I could that Beast Alien that Jay wanted. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun to be there, especially like just being the oldest, I guess, in the group. But like the professionalism, it got me. I was so inspired by watching I don't want to say kids, I'm so old, but like just literally watching them work. Like they're like little professionals, and it was like, it kind of gave me, some confidence in, just bringing my best when I went on set.
Confidence to chase them around the set. And
that's right,
get the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Well, and how much time did you spend getting all of the prosthetics on for the alien?
I would say like an hour and a half.
Okay.
It was only like here to here.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, there's some parts we had to, get my skin color right, but like it was that, and it was in that the second I was on set. So for a whole day, if I was shooting like later in the day, it was like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm feeding myself through this, through this mask and, eating. So it was where, and sometimes I would kind of forget I had it on. And then very often I'll remember when I'm like tasting some of the dye in my food. I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah. It was like, we never saw Jonni like outside of the makeup, like, it was like before production and prep we saw him, but because all that process had to be done before he would come to set, he was just in the makeup the whole time. So it was just like, it was amazing, because by the end of it, when you like had it all off, it was like, oh my God, there you are.
I never saw Jonni as Jonni until I wrapped on my last day, and I was going home. It was like a snowstorm, and I think he was walking out of his trailer too. I was like, oh, hey, nice to like actually be working for like together. I've never seen the guy in real life except under a mask. We talk normally about regular stuff that people would talk about, but he just always have the mask on. So it was just it was interesting at first to take it seriously, but then at the end of that was just Jonni to me.
And I just saw him at pictures of him at the premiere, and I was like, Jason, is this one of the producers or something? Like, who is this guy? He's like, that's a Beast Alien. I was like, oh.
Amazing.
Jason, I also wanted to hear about like who you worked with and how you worked with getting the alien design, because obviously we have the gray aliens, the grays that we kind of think of, but then the Beast Alien has a little bit of a different look and feel. So how did you kind of conceive of these alien designs?
Yeah, well, since I was a kid, I was terrified of the idea of being abducted by aliens. And that's because, yeah. And for me, it was because of this movie called Fire in the Sky. And it like, they ran TV spots when I was like 10 years old. And it showed these images of this guy getting abducted by aliens. And then it said, based on a true story. And that just like really screwed me up, because it was telling me that this was real. And so I felt like I had to like get ready. So like if they were going to come for me. So I went to the library at a young age and got like every book I could at like on alien abductions and UFOs, and it was always the images of like the tall like gray aliens that like had an effect on me. Like I thought I don't know, maybe it was because it was their humanoid form being kind of close to humans in a way, was, I don't know, scary. And the idea of that image like sneaking into my house, into my bedroom to try and abduct me was like really like scary for me. So that's always stuck with me. When I work with the makeup effects designer Steve Newburn, he you know, just kind of took the images that I was drawing him, and he started molding it like, you know, like with his like take on it. And you know, it was like I wanted to bring some new ideas kind of to the like tall gray aliens. So they don't have, you know, they still have like the big like eyes, but they're like eye sockets. They're not, it's like there's a whole philosophy behind, you know, kind of what the, you know, the idea of just how, you know, the aliens like look and where they come from and how it all kind of like goes together. But yeah, and then with the beast alien, that was kind of inspired by our love of like our childhood like toy play sets and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and like you know, the idea of like a teenager getting turned into like a mutant monster, and especially like just with the character arc of that character and how he's getting picked on and what, you know, he becomes like this heightened version like of himself. But that was a really fun like design to do, and it was literally like just what is the coolest like action figure design, that if this whole movie was a movie play set, you got to have, you know, the one Hulk like, you know, character in the play set.
So and hearing a lot about the film, would you say this is maybe your most personal movie that you've ever made?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much of myself in it, and you know, memories that from my childhood that are inspired in it, and my nightmares that I had growing up. And also too, like I wanted it to be a tribute to like where I'm from, in Nova Scotia, where like a lot of us here are from. It's like a hotbed of supernatural and paranormal stories. It just the nature of where it is. It always has been that way for like hundreds of years, and it's part of the culture. And cool. Yeah, like when we had the news, like the Live at 5 news, it would take a break in the middle of it to show a maritime mystery where it was like an unsolved mysteries like segment about some crazy thing that like happened in Nova Scotia. And I just thought that was like everywhere, like it was like that. And it wasn't until I left home that I realized how like special that was. But we have this great story of a UFO that crashed in 1967 in a place called Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia. And a bunch of fishermen like saw this like glowing light like come down and crash into the ocean, and they raced their boats out there thinking that it could be like survivors of a plane crash. But when they got there, there was just this glowing light from the depths below. And that story I've always heard growing up. And around that time when I saw the Fire in the Sky trailer, and I'm asking my dad and my uncles like about that, they knew the story of Shag Harbor, and we're kind of backing up the story because that story had been around so much in Nova Scotia. So, you know, the idea of there being aliens in our backyard was, you know, not far from the truth, I guess.
No wonder you were scared of aliens on top of that, not just like seeing them, but like,
yeah.
And I was just terrified of aliens and reading about them. I don't know if I would have been able to handle thinking they were so close to me.
Yeah, and too, the idea of them coming out of the water was like really scary to me, because all the rumors I heard growing up was that like when this UFO crashed and it sank to the bottom, like divers went down there and they could see beings inside moving inside the ship, but they got scared. And then the big rumor was that another UFO came up underwater and connected with it for like a couple days, and like supposedly did something to help repair that ship. And then they both took off like underwater, like together, and then shot off into the space down the Atlantic somewhere. But I always thought like, wow, that like the idea of them being, you know, it's always been portrayed them like, you know, abducting from space, but the idea of them taking you to the ocean was creepy.
So, do any of you here believe in aliens or have seen a UFO or think you've seen a UFO? No one.
I kind of like I kind of do. Like there's some cool theories out there that I think that, but like yeah.
Look, I fully believe. I'll put it out there. I refuse to believe that we are by ourselves, and maybe they're not the grays that we think of. But I'm also very easily open. I'm also easily swayed with that stuff because I think it's so cool, and so I just choose to like buy into it.
I think you're thinking too small if you don't think there's something like anything else out there. So there has to be something. I just don't know how far it is.
Yeah.
Could be Jack Carver. I don't know.
I find like, because I deal with music and sound all the time, which is vibrations, which is like, and I find that weird stuff happens when I'm making music, making sounds that, you know, feels like some kind of communication that you can kind of tap into, where like suddenly you have a totally blank mind and you're playing with a synthesizer or something, and then an entire image or, you know, composition or something will like just arrive fully formed in your brain. Like, where did that come? Like, it's not like that was just sitting built like a Lego set behind like you know what I mean? So I think I think there's aliens, but I think that they're like, they talk to us and not necessarily from like ships that are like hovering over our skies, but like in different realms of our brain and different vibrational, you know, frequencies and stuff. Man, this is
I like that. I love that.
Well, since we're talking about vibrational frequencies, Andrew, I want to hear more from you about the score, which is incredible, and kind of how you conceived of the score, how you collaborated with Jason on this score, and just wanted to hear more about that process.
Thanks so much. It was a huge dream come true. I got to record half the movie was recorded. The music was recorded by the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. We have
cool
just to show you 300 pages of notation here, which is the first time I've worked with ensemble that big. It was really cool. Jason and I go way back. We went to film school together in Nova Scotia a long time ago. I remember I was a year behind him, and it was one of the first days. We had 1 or 2 classes a week that were both of the years together. And I remember one of the first classes, the heads of the program and the dean came, and they didn't name names, but they said, under no circumstances will school equipment be allowed to use for filming any kind of explosions or extreme tobogganing and I was just, so the whispers commenced in the classes like, what the hell are they talking about? And then lo and behold, Jason was like filming feature films every weekend, taking the school equipment out and blowing up cans of gas and doing stuff. And I just knew that this was a guy that like absolutely nobody was ever going to stop him from making a movie. And flash forward, I'm living in Toronto now. I was working at a post house actually as an editor. Jason needed an assistant editor on this film, Goon Last of the Enforcers. And I was like, I know lots of editors, man. Let me find someone. What's the project? And he's like, Goon Last Enforcers. Like, fuck it, I'll do it. I quit my job, and then him and I ended up working on that movie together for like 10 months in a basement and like sharing all this music. And we just like, we ended up ending up, I don't know, just being sort of psychically linked after that. And, you know, we've made something like 40, maybe 41 films together since then, which is, I mean, most of those are TV hour documentaries for Dark Side of the Ring, but we've made a lot of work together. And so I was so happy that he was making a new feature film. And I know Slumber Party Alien Abduction, #1 alien abduction film according to watchmojo.com. So it was about time we got the feature version. And he just sent me a script. I read it. I wrote like 10 songs the first weekend. And then he took some of those out on the set, and some of those are in the movie or sort of elaborated on. And it's been a dream come true, and it's always a blast working on Jason's shit. So
hell yeah. Jason, you're muted, I think, if you were.
Sorry, yeah. Like to have music like during like prep and like while we were shooting, like I had like a speaker, and sometimes just to kind of, you know, create the vibe, especially when we were inside the spacecraft, like just to create like an ambience in there, I would play Andrew's music. And the movie in a lot of ways is this, like, for me, it's like this musical movie. I want it to be like a musical experience, and we spent like all year working on the music just to try and, you know, it like just like the way it flows is we spent a lot of work just kind of creating the musical sort of adventure of it all. And that's kind of how I want people to watch it, is to like crank it up and just like let it, like, you know, just vibe with the, you know, the musical experience of it, and, you know, have fun with it. But yeah, having that music all through was like, it just kept us in the spirit and, you know, in the intensity of the movie.
Awesome. So Phoebe, actually, I wanted to go back to you because your role is pretty physically demanding, I would say. So I wanted to hear more about your experience with all of, like, I know there's probably a stunt person, obviously, but, you know, the experience of being in this role and playing this role and doing and like having such a physical part.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously had never done anything quite like this project before. We had a couple sessions of like wrestling training that
Hell yeah.
some of the boys, right? Where we went into this gym and we learned a bunch of moves and like some I don't want to call it like pieces of choreography, but it kind of is. And that was so fun, not only for like bonding with the cast, but I would have never in a million years imagined myself doing wrestling.
Yeah, we didn't have a stunt double, so you had to do it all.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
Me,
You do your own stunts, casual, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was so fun, and even on set, doing it over and over, like it maintained that level of like intensity, and I was having so much fun and getting all of this like really great feedback, and I'm so glad that it reads. I feel like it reads. I'm really proud of it all. And yeah, I think that there's something so
What, did we lose her for a sec?
Julia, I was gonna say, did she freeze?
No.
That was good.
Phoebe, come back.
But yeah, seeing Phoebe like on set, and when like we just like, she did all this training, and by the time we had to do this, oh, there you are.
Oh, Phoebe, you froze. We lost you for a second. I think you had something you had a really good answer to.
Take two.
Yeah, let's just take two on that.
It's like this last like
Wi-Fi. Sorry about that, y'all.
No, it's okay.
No, you're totally fine.
When did you
But
leave?
yeah, so you were talking about like doing the stunts over and over again and kind of getting into the rhythm on set.
Yeah, and there's something so important to me about feeling strong and powerful, and that is something that I'm so grateful for with this part, especially, is that like Sam gets to save the day and she gets to be the hero, and I feel like having a strong female role was something that was such a blessing to get to do. Yeah, and I felt like a badass. I loved every minute of it. Like, what can you
It's because you were and are a badass in the movie. So that's awesome.
Yeah, even the wrestlers were so impressed by how like quickly Phoebe learned how to do all those moves. And like I there was like a moment on set where we had like, it was like maybe 20 minutes like to film this whole section where she's like doing a montage of wrestling moves. And Phoebe did like 10 drop kicks, like, and then one of the wrestlers was like, let's do this like spinning scissor kick thing, and all of us in the crew were like, what are you talking about? And they just like did this crazy move where like Phoebe like flips like up around this guy and flips the dude like upside down, and we were all just like, what the hell just like happened? And I remember, Phoebe, you were just so like stoked. Like after that, like I could just see like the adrenaline, like you were pumped up.
Exactly. That whole day was so fun. And I do clearly remember it was like the coolest like Black Widow like around this head, and like, and then I remember getting off the floor and looking over to the crew, and everyone was like, yeah, that's probably not making it in.
So good.
That was one of my favorite shots in the movie. It's only a little portion. It's in the middle. I don't know if if this is a spoilery one, but I won't spoil it. But it's playing on a TV at one point, and then Sam's like, "I can see that shit, Gary." And like she's yelling at the camera, and I'm like, that is like the coolest. Billy hates all this stuff, but Calem, I'm looking at that, I'm like, that is like the coolest shit ever. She's doing like the craziest moves. Even though, and it's filmed on like, was it filmed on like that little camcorder that we have?
Yeah,
so it was all filmed on like a camcorder. It wasn't filmed on like the big Alexas that we have. Like it was the nice like retro-y feel, and like, yeah, it was just like one of my favorite scenes in the show was that montage. It was the coolest thing ever. It was so sweet.
That's amazing. Well, we have to wrap up, but thank you to everyone, to all of you for chatting with me today about Kids versus Aliens. And everyone, it is out now. So if you love aliens, if you love awesome practical effects, if you like badass ladies and cool little kids who love to curse and kids aren't safe, massacring kids, this is the one for you. So thank you all so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.